Hi, it's Maria, and I'm doing number 28 of Forgiveness to Love. And the subtitles are, it's page 11 of my forgiveness list, and it's Revenge. Choose the dark, and the piper gets paid. And I think that's very true. And so today I'm going to share with you some more shocking and really bizarre happenings as we try to make sense of life on planet Earth, right? And how life on planet Earth can be, and how life on planet Earth is meant to be. And it seems to be anything but what we have expected. Um, as we were kind of growing up and looking forward to this miraculous journey on planet Earth. And so many of us have become enveloped in fear. And so when we do that, when that happens, we cave. We feel very disempowered and we want to hide because it's the story of fight or flight, right? The adrenaline rush when there might be a predator around the corner. And so that's what fear does. And the amygdala is the area of the brain that deals with that type of emotion, those emotions. And so anyway, we decide then if we are going to allow that fear to overtake our life, or if we are going to choose to walk forward in strength, right? And so when we cower in fear, we betray ourselves, actually. And so there were many times when Maria betrayed Maria, that I can assure you. And so because there were times when I did not want to believe what was right before my very eyes. And I didn't know how to outsmart the darkness of my family. And especially when I realized that they wanted to take me down, and I had no idea why, and I had no idea the depth and the determination and the malice of certain individuals in my life, which I've talked about throughout this series. And those individuals were really my ex and my sibling and my son. And so I walked around with rose-colored glasses for so many years, decades, in fact. And after the rose-colored glasses, if I took those off, I was even in worse shape because I put on those blackout blindfolds. You know what those are? And so where you really don't see anything. And so, I kept wondering, is it me, or is it my imagination? Or was it really them and their evil plots and tricks and ploys to depopulate the planet, except to depopulate the planet of truth and goodness and kindness and love, and to begin that depopulation effort with Maria, which is really kind of very crazy. And so I would wonder, was I losing it, or was everyone else losing it? And I remembered walking through the streets of Brazil, where I had gone to pray in 2011, right after my sweet angelic mom was mercilessly starved to death in an assisted living situation, in Alzheimer's cottages or whatever. And we all know about that one. And so I thought, in terms of what that happened to my mom is, hey, no big deal, right? Because as much as I tried to call and alert people to what was going on, I could get no one to help me. And so I thought, if this is no big deal, then doesn't everyone's mom and dad die that way, right? And then don't all kids get to decide when to get rid of their mother and father? And if that's the case, then they also decide when their mother and father live and when their mother and father die. And that's actually how it rolled in my family, in my very dysfunctional family, I might add. And so if we can actually go there, then what's stopping us from going even further? Because there are oodles of others in our lives who some may want to destroy in the name of jealousy and envy and hatred and abandonment rage, in their obsession with greed and greed and even more greed. And so on this planet, psychopathology runs deep, and all you have to do is turn on the internet and you will see how many videos and how many YouTube channels are now exposing what we've all known was going on, and yet it was too hush hush. We really didn't want to talk about it. The abuse of the narcissist or the abuse of the psychopath. And so many of us have been in those relationships, and it was terrifying. And the abuse is rampant, and the terror is rampant, and the injury and the disappearances, yes. And again, the heart attacks. Remember, I told you that law enforcement told me that so many times, people think it's a heart attack, but in fact, it's really an abusive partner who decides to add a little something to one's meal. In any event, I was starting to tell you about my walking through the streets of Brazil. And so as I'm walking along, a woman comes up to me and she says, I just picked up a message about you. Would you like me to share it with you? And so there I had met many psychic people, and they were very intuitive, and they were very, the veil is very thin there at times. And so I said, sure, tell me, I want to know. And so she said, well, the image of Atlas carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, the globe. And I said, yes. And she said, well, what I picked up was I saw Maria with the weight of the world. And it wasn't the weight of the world, it was the betrayal of the world on your shoulders. And I thought, oh my God, this I don't want to hear, right? And so I said, cancel. I do not want that in my field. I don't want to hear about that, and I don't want that to be the case, right? And so as I was picturing myself and what she was trying to tell me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I was nearly 5'9", and I was weighing about 110 pounds. And so I thought, oh my God, this big globe, like propped on my shoulders and on my back, walking around with the betrayal of the world. And so I thought I couldn't carry much on my thin and delicate little shoulders, that was for sure. And so, and as for the rest of it, I didn't really even understand what she meant, because I was really done with the martyrdom bit, because I had tried to be, the very best wife and the very best mother and the very best daughter and the very best friend and the very best confidant. And at the martyrdom of martyring myself, right? I put everyone else's needs first. Well, not everyone else's needs, but my family's needs, certainly, and those whom I really cared about. And then there were the generational curses that many of us have become aware, because as we note, our great-grandmothers and then our grandmothers and then our mothers, many of them lived very similar lives, of course, different generations, and yet there was that thread, that silver thread, that thread that joined them all together, that allowed us to see the patterns of our ancestors, and those were dysfunctional. Those were dysfunctional behaviors and situations. And so we wanted to break free of those. And so we were breaking those generational curses. And so what I really wanted this woman to tell me was not what she told me. I really wanted, when she said, I have a message for you, and I wanted her to tell me that, the thieves, that stole your home and your assets and your intellectual property and your things and all your money and even the men you loved and your friends and relatives and, your career and your writing and your videos and even your dreams. Yes, even your dreams of helping people find homes, yes, and helping animals find homes and empowering people to live a better life and to realize their value and to move forward in life. And so I had seen that among the homeless people that I had met. And so I was just so passionate about getting that message to them. So when someone says, I want to give you a message about your future, I thought, oh, that's what I want to hear. Anyway, I also wanted her to tell me I would wake up from this nightmare that I was living. And yet, nightmare for one can be a dream for another. And it's all really how we frame it and reframe it, because I wanted a normal life. And yet, when you think about it, what's normal in this life that we live here on planet Earth? Because normal here is really very abnormal at this point in time. And so, how's your life? Is there anything normal really about it? And so I was wondering when she talked about betrayal, and I was wondering if, in fact, she would have picked up, and maybe this was like a prognostication because it hadn't happened yet. But I wondered, some of us have twins, and maybe we all have twins. Who knows? And anyway, I realized that my sibling, who wanted to betray me and who has spent way too much time stalking and following me, from what I've heard, 24/7. I'd say that that's a bit excessive and obsessive. And so as she was targeting my gullible twin and for sex, and more importantly for revenge on me. And so when this psychic woman talked about, as I thought back later, when she talked about betrayal, I would say to be betrayed by your sibling and your twin was really, and your children. Yeah, that's a bit over the top, I'd say. And so, and yet, none of us are given situations that we don't have the tools to overcome. And when you think of people who are so wounded that they would behave in that way, you really, it's a sickness, right? And it's selling their soul to the darkness. And whether people who have engaged in such betrayal on any level, really, because betrayal is betrayal, whether they receive envelopes stuffed with cash or direct deposits to bank accounts, it's betrayal of, you betray someone else, but really what you're doing is you're betraying yourself. And so, yes, as the sibling betrayed, actually, as my twin betrayed me, the sibling betrayed him and me, because she wasn't interested in him. She was interested in revenge on me. And so we were all kind of, it was all really a disgusting situation, actually. But, what we send out to others ultimately comes back to us. And so what we want to do is just stay away from people who think so little of us that they choose to spend their time trying to annihilate us, and so it was just a very messy situation. And yet, they say that twins evolve in separation, and ultimately they are, the same soul. And so we'll see how that plays out. And so virtually any man I've had anything to do with, actually, was ultimately contacted by her for some type of a liaison or a relationship. This is what I'm told. I wasn't there. I wouldn't want to be there, but it is what I was told, and it was all in the name of revenge. So I guess stealing homes and computers and antiques and such, and children too, wasn't enough. But I think maybe her husband might have wanted to see what was going on with that psychopathology. But there are bushels and bushels of karma for interfering in the divine plan, that's for sure. And so again, I wondered where Jerry Springer was in all this. You know, Jerry Springer, where are you? I have a story for you. And so, God, where are you? And so anyway, I tried to crystallize my thoughts and my words. And so I decided that I would put out to the universe that I choose for all the wounded souls who don't want to elevate and better themselves to just disappear from my life, because I get it, right? We all get it now. And so we choose to spend our time helping those who really do want our help and who really do want our love. And the rest who don't appreciate us can just go on their way, because really we don't have time. Life is short on this planet, and we don't have time for liars and cheaters and betrayers and thieves. I certainly don't have time for that. I want no part of it, right? And yet we want to help. Um, we want to be as kind as possible. We want to serve, but we want to serve those people who want our help, who want to better themselves, right? And so we don't need to engage with people who have malice in their heart and who want to take us down. And there are many people now. It seems like maybe we are aware of this. And yet even when I just go into an office or a store or something, people are saying the same thing. They're saying, oh my gosh, there's so much thieving here. There's, so much evil. There's so much crookedness. There's so much deception and deceit and you know. And I guess I just thought maybe I hear more about it in the spiritual community, and yet really the public at large seems to be really tuned in to what's been going on out there. And so, here we are on planet Earth, and we get to decide how we're going to live our life. And so this incarnation is a beautiful opportunity for us to co-create those situations where we can experience the gamut here. And then we can then decide, we have to take care of ourselves. And so we don't have room for liars, cheaters, and thieves and flying monkeys, right? In The Wizard of Oz, it was the Wicked Witch of the West that had the flying monkeys who would do her dirty work. And so it seemed like wherever I've gone over the last 10 years, there were flying monkeys that would do all the dirty work for the ex and the sibling and the son. And so, I really didn't even think all of that was possible. And so, especially to a little Greek girl, and a little Greek girl who loved life and who loved kittens and puppies, and especially Fluffy, her pure white Angora cat, and Princess, her Lassie dog, a beautiful, beautiful German Shepherd Collie, and Jonathan Livingston, that amazing seagull, right? And all the other birds, from the chocolate doves, how about that? And the black gummy crows, oh my gosh, to the bluebirds and blackbirds and lovebirds and the bees, really. Oh my gosh, I have a story for you about the bees. My twin and I were walking through a Rapadura sugar farm in Brazil when we must have disturbed a hive, because suddenly there was this swarm of bees all over the place, and they were all over us, and he was trying to swat them away from me. And we were both running. Finally, we ran into the house, and we were counting. We each had over 24 stings. So it was like, more than 25. I think we stopped counting at 25, and we said, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so we were just kind of in a panic because we didn't really understand what was going on. And we thought, oh my gosh, are they going to swell, and are we going to have some type of a reaction, and they're going to itch, and they're going to hurt, and do we need to get to a hospital? And so as we sat there, all of a sudden things seemed to subside. And so the next day, we couldn't even find them. We couldn't even find the stings. And we told a few people about that. And so one particularly awakened man, shall I say, he said, karmic events are cleared by bee stings. And so we started laughing and we thought, wow, if we've cleared that much karma, imagine, and we are going through what we're going through, imagine, um, what a gift that was. Because without those bee stings, I don't know. Anyway, so I guess my point of telling you that is, so many people are so afraid of bees. And truly, people are highly allergic. And so one must exercise caution. But at the same time, there is nothing on the planet that we are really to fear. And just exercise discernment and don't get close to things that are that you suspect are dangerous, right? And that even includes people, much less the animals. And so anyway, there's the birds and the bees and Bambi and Flounder the fish and the bunnies and who else? There's Peter Rabbit and Flipper and the Lion Kings and Queens and the Little Mermaids. And so, the animals in our life are so, they're so wonderful. And so for those of us who will open a door or a window to let a fly go out, or take a spider and put it by the door and let it go back to where it belongs. And so to have that type of love and compassion, and then to kind of awaken to the fact that you have a sibling and a son who strategize practically 24/7 from what I've been told, and want to exterminate me. And so kind of like Willard, let's get rid of that. Let's get to exterminate that mouse or that rat or whatever. And so, I have to say that I've come a long way, because I shudder at the thought of hurting an animal. As many of you, I think we are all becoming more conscious. And so, and yet many of us haven't given up more eating meat or fish or poultry or anything like that. And so that's something that as we raise our vibration, we will do. It would be wonderful to do a vegan lifestyle. I know that I had been a vegetarian when I was in college and my hair started falling out. So there was obviously some type of metabolic imbalance there, and nutritional deficiency that I wasn't taking care of. Hopefully that wouldn't happen now at this point. But the thought of the contrast, and I remembered my medical research days where I used the electron microscope to study the embryonic tissue of a Mongolian gerbil. And so, as well as the brain and the infrared system of South American rattlesnakes. And so, in the name of science, that was what I did. And yet now, as I look back on that, and I think, oh my gosh, I would never do that again. No, someone else can sacrifice animals, but it's not going to be me. And so, and then I thought, with so many of us have lived lives of contrast, where, for instance, the ex, had supposedly, from what I was told by attorneys, that he had commissioned landscapers to douse me, his darling wife, with a pesticide and an insecticide. And so when I thought of the pesticide, I thought, oh, the pesticide event. He viewed me as a pest, right? And so I was the pest because I kept him from my family's money, right? And he needed to get rid of me in order to get to that money. And so I thought, oh, yeah, once is, he might have thought once was not enough, because I actually survived that incident. It took me 5 years, and I was very, very ill during that time for having been drenched. But at the same time, once was, I know James Bond says once is not enough, but Maria says once was more than enough for sure. And so, we are here on planet Earth to perfect our soul's expansion, right? And to experience the people and the places and the things that allow us to see the beauty of oneness and how we treat one another. And that is the lesson that we have when we have all these psychopathic and narcissistic people in our life, that we can see the oneness in them because we want to see their healthy side of them, and yet a lot of times there is no healthy side to them. And so whether it's our children, whether it's our sibling, whether it's our spouse, whether it's even our parent, we understand what's going on in their psychopathology, and so we then have to release them and take care of ourselves, right? And and take out the people that don't belong in our life, release them. Because sometimes it's when we release them and when they don't have that playground where they can torture us, then they may be motivated to change their ways. You see, I know with the poisoning of my food and water, I'll tell you, sibling and son who continue to avoid me and play the "oh, I'm so innocent" game, this must stop. For every action really is written in the annals of time. And so although they don't return my phone calls or respond to me in any way, I am, I guess, using this venue to just say, sibling and son, it's time that you stopped the attempted murder or the conspiracy to commit murder or whatever other heinous crimes you are engaging in, because it's not going to serve you well. And I don't even have to do anything. I can sit back and just watch the universe play out and watch karma deal what they have to deal, because it's all about energy, and what you give out is what you get back. And my attempt here is merely to share truth. And, there have already been too many family members in my family who have been murdered at the hands of darkness. And so this sickness must stop. And so regardless of how many flying monkeys are on the payroll, right? And so the beauty of this planet, it's two-handed. Yes, a two-handed sword, really, is that we are given free will here. At the same time, free will is not carte blanche for psychopathic behavior, right? And so we're given a choice. And so we can choose to bask in the glory of the wise choices we've made, right, in our wisdom, or to suffer the consequences of the ill will and the malice, or the sheer stupidity by which we treat another. And so we can't be so arrogant as to think, well, we can be, but to our detriment, that would be to think that the creator of all, the Godhead, divine justice, judgment, the angels and archangels, if you believe in them, I certainly do, the heavenly beings, the universe itself, the energy of all creation, is all in an attempt to bring balance to our planet. And so we've all been placed here at this place in time to witness and to participate in the evolution of consciousness and to help one another grow. And that growth is most easily experienced within the family dynamic. And so as the sibling and son and the ex treated me in the most cruel and malicious manner, whereby there was no mercy at all as they were committing these horrific crimes, it's just not going to go well. It's not, there are the eyes in the sky. We live in an energetic world. We are in the matrix. And so there is no covering up. There are no more secrets. We live in the age of transparency. And so we can't cover up the stuffing of pockets and everything that has been given to the band of thieves, right? Who are their cohorts and who are their flying monkeys. And sometimes I wonder, because I've been going through this for so long. I mean, there are people in so many different countries throughout the globe. And these people all have cell phones that supposedly have all my information. They're cloned cell phones, and they track my every move. And I just think, wow, that's just so crazy. That just can't happen, right? To regular people in the US of A. I mean, we're Americans here. And so it can't happen in Greece, in France, in Australia, in any country, in China, it just can't happen, because it's contrary to what we are trying to create on this planet, which is a world of unconditional love and peace and compassion and kindness, and seeing the other as ourselves. And that's really where we're coming from. And so when I go back to the slander and the lying and the cheating and the stealing and the breaking and entering of my homes and the tampering of my food and water, and even including the restaurants and the grocery stores where they have an inn or whatever. And I don't know if, because they may hear that I'm on my way to go and get some food or whatever, all of a sudden what what would you call the pallet in the stockroom that maybe has a sign that says Maria's tampered food, and so they go and they put that, if that's something on my shopping list. I really don't know how that works, and yet I am just floored that I can just walk back in here and take a bite of something and just be, feel sick as a dog, and just have all kinds of gastrointestinal upsets and stuff. And I just think, wow, my own sister and my son are involved in this kind of insanity. And I think, oh, I mean, never, never, never in my life would I have ever assumed that people would be so dark. And yet this is an amazing lesson for me. And it's an amazing lesson for them, because you don't do those things to another human being and get away with it. There is karmic justice and there is judgment. Absolutely. And so we are protected when we do the right thing, and whatever that protection means. And so there are no more excuses, and we don't condone that craziness. And we are here to help one another for sure. And the dark souls are given an opportunity to see what they have created in this world and to better themselves, to see the good and to help rather than hurt, and to build rather than destroy, and to serve rather than sabotage. And yet again, there are consequences, and we too are faced with options, right? We can cringe in fear and just try to keep our head above water, or we can empower ourselves and just say no more. That's it. And so, when I talk about keeping our head above water, I remembered a little story. When I was a little girl of about 8, we would spend every other year in California visiting my father's brother and his wife. And so we'd go to Laguna Beach quite a bit. And so there was, we were in the water, and there was an undertow. And so it took me under, and I was kind of flailing and upside down and everything and screaming. And my father ran into the water and grabbed my arm and then pulled me out and really saved my life. And so, when we think of how we were in, that's an undertow for sure, and that's a very physical undertow, and yet we can be in a spiritual undertow of sorts. We can be in an undertow in this physical reality as well, where all of a sudden we're going down a path that we know that we should not have even attempted to enter. And and now with all of this stuff that's going on in my family, my daddy is not available here. He's in some other dimension. He's left this earth plane. And so he's not here to save his darling Maria from their darkness, from the darkness of his own family. And so, it's not about, we can't cringe in fear anymore, and we have to be strong. And it's time to learn to love ourselves. And as we learn self-love and self-forgiveness, then we are able to show up and speak up. And so, as strange as it is, when we talk about self-love is, I certainly loved myself as much as I thought anybody loved themselves, right? Or so I thought. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the mirror work, where you look in the mirror and you find something that you love about yourself. And then maybe the next day you find something else, until you love all of you, which is the goal. I mean, why wouldn't you love all of you, right? And so I would look in the mirror, and I've always loved what I saw. And I think that happened. It wasn't from an arrogant perspective, and it wasn't vanity by any means. It was really something that was instilled in me by my mother, my beautiful angelic mother, who she really, I think from when I was a little girl until her last days in that Alzheimer's facility, where she was starved to death. Yes. I think she was always complimenting me, right? And so, in terms of, I thought about my my mother's position in this Alzheimer's facility, and why that happened, because it's just so gross. And so it was control of the family trust, right? And that family trust was the forbidden fruit. So if we can really even kind of take that back to Adam and Eve, the forbidden fruit. And so not only did sibling taste it, but she devoured the whole damn thing. And so I know that my mother was the type of woman who saw the beauty in things. If there was a butterfly that would fly around, she would mention it. Or if there was a flower, or a piece of chocolate, or whatever, whether it was something edible or whether it was something beautiful to behold. She always had such a smile in her face, and it was just like this little kind of an innocent expression on an adult woman, and a very intelligent adult woman. But my mother would see me, and she rarely could walk by me without rubbing my back or touching my neck or stroking my hair, or telling me, how kind and generous and loving I was. And so, and then she'd take my hands and she'd say, oh, your hands and your fingers and your hair and your lips. And so it's beautiful, because when you grow up with that unconditional love, then you think everybody grew up with that, right? And so you see that in others, and you expect them to see that in you. And yet we know that when you have expectations, that just, you definitely are in for a disappointment. And yet, it was all about her validating me, and we all want to be validated, right? And so I felt treasured beyond measure. And I too would compliment my mom. Oh, there's like a mosquito or something, sorry. Complimented my mom, and we joke with my Uncle George that, because my mom and my Uncle George, that was her brother, and he was my favorite, we all had, like, we would say, oh, well, we have like this mutual admiration society because we all loved each other so, so much. And so, and the sibling never had a part in that because um, she never had that kind of a relationship with, with our mom or, or our uncle, excuse me. And so, but it just wasn't possible because she had a different personality, and we kind of viewed her as being very malicious and mean, even way back then. And so, again, we have a choice as to how we're going to behave, right? And as to how we're going to treat others. And so, I know relating to my mom and dad, and to me and to my children, the way that my sibling and my one son have behaved within our family dynamic, that truly will go down in history, because that is beyond, that is very psychopathological, and it is cruel, it is malicious, it is dangerous, it is attempted murder, it is murder, it is greed, theft, you name it. And so, anyway, there are many times that we will reflect on our life and we will say, wow, how did we get through it? And what was the point? And as we look back and we say, we gave them opportunity after opportunity to see the light and to see the goodness in others. And whether they took that or not is up to them. And it gave us an opportunity to see the reality of our lives and to just draw boundaries and say, this is not acceptable for me. I can't live like this, and I won't live like this. And so I choose. I get to choose. This is the planet of choice. I get to choose who's going to be in my life and who's not going to be in my life. And one has to earn that spot as far as I'm concerned. And so anyway, come with me to number 29, and that's where we'll learn about page 12 of my forgiveness list, where we can explore the notion of dark souls and their presence in our life. And so, it's wonderful that we've been able to create space where we've come a long way, and you won't even believe where we're going to still be going. So if you so choose, would you kindly like, share, and subscribe? And I've never said that before because and I'm only saying that because I've been told that sibling doesn't want this truth out, and that she restricts. I guess she pays people that go on the internet and hack on the internet, or maybe they work for the internet, I don't know, but that they restrict my audience so that people don't hear the truth. And so I would really appreciate it if you did like, share, and subscribe, so I could get a feeling as to how many are able to watch this and who is being restricted. And so with that information, I thank you so much, and I hope you find this information valuable, because I do think that many of us live very similar lives, and yet we appear so differently. And yet, there is that common thread among us all, and we can see the oneness in each and every one of us. And so until number 29, I want you to know how much I love you. And I wish you a beautiful evening. Bye.